Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is our fifth meeting on the 29th word, which is on angels, the immortality of man's spirit, and resurrection. So we are kind of taking it slow, but we are almost at the end of the first aim. Last week, we kind of had this little story, and we're hoping that you guys are reading on your own time too. And if anyone wants to join the WhatsApp group for this specific discussion, please let us know in the chat. Inshallah, Dr. Yamina is here too, so she is guiding us in understanding the text a little bit better and deeper than we can on our own. And I will start. And as a recap, the last part that we read gave us a short story of two men, and they see they're in kind of like an urban cityscape, and they see a sort of rundown, small sort of factory, but it's really bustling with all kinds of workers and beings in and around it. And there is constant movement, new beings coming and old ones leaving. And in the distance, the two men can see like a bigger cityscape, a lot of different buildings, palaces. And one of them says, you know, even this tiny little building has all these beings in it, all this activity. I'm sure that something similar is going on there far away. And the other one says, I don't see anyone, so I don't really believe it. So it's kind of like a metaphor for how we approach the issue of angels, I guess. So you can always recap, and we'll start reading at the conclusion of this fundamental point, and we will reserve the last 15 minutes for Q&A. If at any point you have questions on any of the words or any of the passages that don't make sense, please feel free to raise your hand or type it in the chat, and Sarah can arrange for that. Okay, Bismillah. The conclusion of this fundamental point. I will zoom in a little bit so you guys can see better. As may be established empirically, matter is not essential so that existence may be made subject to it and be dependent on it. Rather, matter subsists through a meaning, and that meaning is life, it is spirit. Also, as may be established through observation, matter is not the thing served so that everything may be ascribed to it. It is rather the servant. It renders service to the process of the perfection of a truth. And that truth is life. And the fundament of that truth is spirit. Also, as is self-evident, matter is not dominant so that recourse may be made to it or perfection sought from it. Rather, it is dominated. It looks to the decree of some fundament. It is in motion in the way that decree dictates. And that fundament is life, it is spirit, it is consciousness. Also, as is necessary, matter is not kernel. It is not the fundament. It is not a settled abode so that events and perfections may be affixed to it or constructed on it. Rather, it is a shell prepared to be split, rent, dissolved. It is a husk, it is froth, it is a form. Consider the following. A creature so minute it can only be seen with a microscope, has such acute senses, it can hear its friend's voice and see its sustenance. It has extremely sensitive and sharp senses. This demonstrates that the effects of life increase and the light of the spirit intensifies in proportion to the reducing and refining of matter. It is as though the more matter is refined and the more we become distant from our material existences, the closer we draw to the world of the spirit, the world of life, and the world of consciousness, and the more intensely the heat of the spirit and the light of life are manifested. Is it therefore at all possible that there should be this many distillations of life, consciousness, and spirit within this veil of materiality, and that the inner world, which is beyond this veil, should not be full of conscious beings and beings with spirits? Is it at all possible that the sources of these numberless distillations, flashes, and fruits of meaning, spirit, life, and the truth apparent in this material existence in the manifest world should be ascribed only to matter and the motion of matter and be explained by it? God forbid, absolutely not. These innumerable distillations and flashes demonstrate that this material and manifest world is but a lace veil strewn over the inner and spirit worlds. This is kind of a dense section. I'm going to read this last bit again. These innumerable distillations and flashes demonstrate that this material and manifest world is but a lace veil strewn over the inner and spirit worlds. When I first started reading the 29th word, I had been thinking of meaning as superimposed on matter, but what Nursi is saying here is meaning is more fundamental. And I think that's definitely something that we can contemplate and stay with a little bit if anyone has any questions on this first fundamental point. So he wants us to think of the material world, material existence, as a lace veil, right? So something very thin, very weak, maybe transparent even, that's put over inner and spirit worlds. And he has this understanding in the previous paragraph where we say, it is as though the more matter is refined and the more we become distanced from our material existences, the closer we draw to the world of the spirit, the world of life, and the world of consciousness, and the more intensely the heat of the spirit and the light of life are manifested. I am having a hard time understanding this part because I feel like I'm just thinking about it just physically. Dr. Yamina, do you have any different ways we can think about this first fundamental point that can help us kind of like get more from the text?
Assalamu alaikum. Which fundamental point are you referring?
We are on the first one.
I just wanted to point out that there is a mistake in translation here. The bit that you've just read, Nurbanu, it says it's as though the more matter is refined and the more we become distanced from our mutual existence. As if like if we can become more distant from our mutual existence, whereas in the original it doesn't say, it's not about us going away from. Like if I say in Turkish, güya madde inceleştikçe bizim maddiyatımızdan uzaklaştıkça, like as the matter becomes refined and becomes further distant from our material existence. So it's not like us trying to get out of our material which is a completely different meaning.
Yeah, that is very different. Okay, so basically disregard the we here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's an our, yeah, there's no we there.
So the more matter is refined and the more it becomes distanced from our material existences, the closer we draw to the world of the spirit. The rest of it is fine though in translation?
There's no we in the second one too. The agent of the sentence is not we. So the closer it draws.
I see. So I think even if it's not me as an agent, I feel like when I'm reading the sentence, if I'm just thinking about matter, I still feel like I'm missing something. You know, like what does it mean for matter to be more refined or distanced from material existence? And how can I apply any of that to my own life? I guess is my question. Dr. Yamini, you were saying something, but you're muted right now. So if you want to jump in here, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
He's giving an example to make this a little bit more accessible to us, which is the tiny living being. Where was that? Sorry, let me find it. Consider the following: a creature so minute it can only be seen with a microscope. So as far as we're concerned, matter is almost immaterial. There isn't much of a veil of matter. And yet it has such acute senses. There are beings that we don't have to go to something that we can only see with a microscope, like a mosquito, for instance. And there are some mosquitoes that are tiny, but they are like, you just move your head and they disappear. They are so, the effects of life, they have very sharp senses, very sensitive. This demonstrates that the effects of life increase and the light of the spirit intensifies in proportion to the reducing and refining of matter. What does it mean? It means it's not more matter, more life. In fact, we have many examples in this world where we see that there is more life and more subtlety in life, in movement, for instance, in motion of insects and things that are tinier, less matter, more life, more senses. And that's what he was saying at the beginning. I think this is important because we are stuck in matter unless we are doing the work, we are doing the conscious work of witnessing, at least at the beginning. Remember, we witness intellectually. We know things, we see things and we know علم اليقين, and then عين اليقين, then حق اليقين. Then it's the heart and the soul are involved as well in that shahada. But at least if we start following the guidance of the Quran, and in the Quran we're not only told God is the creator of all things, he is wise. We are shown how, we are guided step by step how to experience. And at least in the beginning, it seems like, because in the beginning we are not aware that we are involved in all this, so it seems like we are only seeing and observing, and later we'll realize that we are part of it. So it'll be a higher level of consciousness. But let's say we are seeing and observing that there is wisdom in whatever is happening, that whatever is happening is in a sense like writing. So that's why we read the ayat. So if we look at a piece of paper, it's matter. There is ink, it's matter. But the whole purpose of the message in there, whoever wrote the message, the paper or is there only as a means to convey a message. So we read it, and then we can throw the paper, the piece of paper. Now we have that, the message, the meaning, that's what counts. So when we say matter here, think of it as the piece of paper and the ink. And let's say, but the quality of the paper matters, not only as far as the meaning it conveys. You're sending a postcard to your friend, so you choose something of better quality. There is a nice picture on it. All the art, the quality there are all to express how much you value that person. So again, it is not there for itself. Matter is not essential, so that existence may be made subject to it and be dependent on it. It's not at all like that. Unless we live more and more consciously, we follow the guidance of the Quran and start observing that the events around us are not happening as if haphazardly, as if things are happening to me like that. No, there is wisdom, there is order, there is compassion, there is power, there is someone is communicating with me, someone is educating me, someone is guiding me to higher levels of consciousness, teaching me something, getting me ready for another realm where I would need all those senses to be developed. So unless I am a traveler, a conscious traveler in that path, by default, it seems like matter is that's it. That's what it is. There is nothing else. That's why this is so important. This part, I used to have it written on the wall for a long time to remind myself. Rather, matter subsists through a meaning. It's more than just the example of the letter. Like even the paper is there, is a manifestation of some name. It persists, it subsists through a meaning, and that meaning is life, it is spirit. It is there to serve another higher purpose. It's not there for itself. And as may be established through observation, matter is not the thing served so that everything may be ascribed to it. Like in science, materialist science, it seems like everything is about matter, and very conveniently, they never talk about the order, the meaning, without which that science wouldn't exist, actually. If there was no order that we take for granted, you wouldn't be able to talk about, to do science. Yet it's all about matter. Everything is made of matter. Everything is atoms. So what if everything is atoms? It's like you enter into a bakery and you say it's all flour and sugar. So what? Even if it's flour and sugar, each one is different. How about life? What is life? Or in the simpler example of the bakery, how about the form and the art, and they're all different. They taste different. One is crispy, one is dry, one is soft, one is where all that goes. Quality, because you cannot quantify quality, they don't talk about it. Say it is beyond my scope. Don't say that this is it. As if like what my net can catch is not fish. No, your net is limited. What my mind, my reason cannot comprehend doesn't exist. That's how that's not only the materialist scientists, they represent any of us when we are not consciously growing. So he says here, as also may be established through observation, matter is not the thing served so that everything may be ascribed to it. And that's what we do. Like even with illness, it's like always the chemicals, this. It's true, but that's the result. That's not what made it happen. The person was very anxious or panicked or was in fear, and then the chemistry of the body changed. We say, no, it's all about the chemistry. So it is the servant. It renders, it serves to the process of a perfection of a truth. And that truth is life. And the fundament of that truth is spirit. Also, as is self-evident, matter is not dominant so that recourse may be made to it. And we can see it. If you have a child, you see how the physical body keeps changing. So it can't be. It is serving a purpose. It's not there for itself. It is not dominant, so we take it as our point of reference.
Dr. Yamina?
Yes.
I had a question about the last sentence that we just read, and that truth is life. So it is rather the servant, it renders service to the process of the perfection of a truth. I followed up until there, and that truth is life. So that was my first pause. I don't know if the original maybe, I don't know if life was referring to Al-Hayy or if there was clarification on that. And then the second part, the last sentence also made me pause. And the fundament of that truth is spirit. So it looks like matter, what we're seeing happening, unfolding in our life, in the world, is just a servant that's just rendering a service to the process of the perfection of a truth. And that truth is life. So that was my first, okay, so what exactly do we mean by life? The manifestation of Al-Hayy. I know in the second paragraph, it is more, it points to the decree, but I don't know if the words life and spirit here are important.
Before this last week, maybe there was the example of the bee, how with life, he compared life and ruh, the spirit, to light. Ruh is the light of life, and light is the what uncovers and exposes and what otherwise would not be known, what otherwise would not be witnessed and seen. So life is important because it is through life that the myriad names of God at different degrees will be are manifest. And let's say we see something inanimate, and then we see an animate being. The higher the level of life, the more the beautiful names of God are easier to see, right? We see the order, the wisdom, all the names of God, the compassion, much more. And the fact that we have ruh, consciousness, is what makes us aware. Otherwise, there could be life, but if there is no ruh, then we won't be able to witness that. And because the higher the level of consciousness, we have such a level that we can be self-conscious. We can watch the unfolding of the beautiful names of God that unfold with life through us. Because there is life, then we need sustenance, then we need food. And because we need food, then all kinds of creation become a risk in our perception, in our interaction. And so now we know God as a Razaq at so many different, in many different ways, through the outwardly, through the varieties of food and textures and tastes and colors and all kinds of, and inwardly through our first our hunger. The more we hunger for something, the more we appreciate it. And through contemplation, the more we contemplate, the more we are at awe, the more we start savoring not only the food, but we start savoring the razaqiyah, the fact that we are nurtured, and the rububiyah within, that we are being sustained in life through this. So life is like a key, he had said, to many things. That's why life is repeating life. And of course, for us, it is life, but it's also the spirit, the consciousness that we have been given. And that's why it is the more we nurture that consciousness to its full potential, the more our humanity is going to unfold. Our humanity means Khalifa, the one that has been created, sent. Before, when we were created, all the angels were made to prostrate because we have that ruh within us. And with that ruh, with that consciousness, we have the ability to know God through his myriad beautiful names, and to glorify and worship him and praise him, like each kind of angels. They will know him through one way. And we have that ability, that potential to understand all of their glorifications and to be part of it. So we are, what makes us special creation is that consciousness. And of course, consciousness exists together with life. So it's the light of life, and life is the light of, it is a light because it makes so many things known to us.
Okay, so that makes sense. So from these first 4 paragraphs here, it's saying something extremely important that I think will be very helpful for all of us who are struggling while witnessing severe calamity. At least it's helpful for me. So what I want to share is that what we are observing in the world, the matter taking place, because everything points to matter, Nursi is presenting, that this matter is subservient. In and of itself, it has no power. It is dominated and looks to the decree. It is unfolding according to decree. It is in and of itself powerless. Matter is not dominant. Matter is not the kernel. It is not the fundament. And this all points to La ilaha, right? The matter in and of itself looks big and looks scary and looks terrible and looks powerful and looks. And then we have to pause and ask, what do we really believe here? Is the matter in and of itself the doer, the dominant one? Or is it moving? It is in motion. Is it moving in the way that decree dictates? Which would really lead one to pause and, inshallah, await to receive the meaning in it.
It is not
I'll
acting.
pause.
It is not acting. It cannot act of itself.
Yeah, so for me, the big, if I can put it in bold and underline it, which really popped out for me, it is in motion in the way that decree dictates. In and of itself, it's powerless. In and of itself, the things that look big and scary and terrible and awful are in and of itself, they're not essential. They actually, it's matter. It's nothing, but it's unfolding in the way that decree, life, power dictates it to move, which is a nice sort of reframe. I'm going to pause. I know Isra, you are also unmuted.
It's not that important. It was an earlier point, so we can.
Okay, so maybe Nurbano, did you want to add something or do you want to continue where we were on the next page?
Yeah, I think we can continue. Thank you guys. I think that was very helpful for me at least. Second fundamental point.
Wait, before we go to the second fundamental point, maybe we can also just get the main points of these next two paragraphs, just because this is a big fundamental point. If we could walk away with this, we would have no problem with all of the problems that we're facing right now while we witness something very
because
difficult to witness.
We talk about reading the signs, but we don't know what it means. It's always we are using shortcuts. We say, yes, Allah created it. How did you, like, if you were not born into this faith, will you still see that? Are you seeing it or are you claiming it? You remember in the Quran, often we are told that it is God who sends the water down from the sky. And each time, for me, for a long time, it was like each time I stop again. Just a second. Is it true? Normally we say, of course, I believe in God. It is God who sends it. Yes, but in my daily life, how do I experience rain? If it feels to me that rain is coming, then I am not confirming that ayah. I'm just repeating blindly, taqleed, just imitative faith. That ayah is telling me, go and check yourself. So I go and check myself and say, true, is it true? This water now, as I am seeing it, I go out, water is coming. How come? Allah is saying we are sending it. Then it comes to this matter. This water, matter, lifeless, does it know how to come down? Does it have no, it doesn't come randomly. It comes according to order, always in the same way as we're taught in the Quran. If it came all at once, it would destroy everything. Or if there are so many things that could happen, but no, it always follows order, and it comes smoothly, and it comes, subhanallah. And we say, no, water evaporates. How does water know how to evaporate? Why does it, when it starts getting more heat, more energy, how do molecules of water say, oh, now there is more energy, we need to, we can't be together now? Something is going on here, something beyond water, beyond the matter. There is a decree going on here. Somewhat, there is wisdom here. There is order here. There is will. There is compassion. There is so many things are going on here that we cannot attribute to water. That's the first step. So I go back and say, yes, water can't come on its own. Only someone with this and this will do. Second step, now when I stay with the water, with the rain, and I see there and I contemplate, now there is a heart-soul connection. There I understand that that water, that rain, is a recipient of the divine decree of be and it is. So it means water is not just water. Water, just like I am not just physical, I have something else in me that understand, that receives the divine decree, that follows the divine decree. So does the water. Now we start looking to the malakut. So the malakut happens through reflection, contemplation, tadabbur, ta'ammul. It is not something that we just understand once. What we understand is the first step, and now we had to digest it, as Imam Nursi rahimahullah says, so that it falls from your brain into your heart. When it's digested, you stay with it, with the reality, you feel it, and then you start realizing that there is something else going on here. And then we start reading it will be more than reading. Then it will be, like Imam Nursi says, sometimes he says it's like a book, but in many ways he says also it's kalam. It is God speaking to us. So something is speaking to me through that falling of the rain. And then I realize that everything is speaking to me through all kinds of things. Matter is not is not essential. It's not it depends. It's not dominant. It is dominated by something else. It looks to meaning. It looks to the spirit, to consciousness, because meaning looks to the spirit and to consciousness. It's not the kernel. It's not the fundament. It's not settled about so that events and perfection may be affixed to it. Not at all. It is, nothing can be constructed on matter. It's the other way around. It is serving a purpose. It is a shell prepared to be split, to rent, dissolved. And it comes and changes and something new comes. That's why it keeps changing, because it's here to fulfill a purpose. Yet when we are not reading, when we are not interacting, when we are not living from the ruh and the heart, when we are not listening and connecting and participating in that glorification, in those tasbihat and tahmidat, then it seems to us like there it is, it's happening. Matter starts seeming to us as being essential. And that's really, to the ruh, it's very when things look good, there is still like a black hole in the ruh. There is no satisfaction. And when things, in times of hardship and crisis, then it becomes like a crushing. It seems like a crushing reality, but that's not reality. That's a misperception, an illusion, a delusion about reality.
I'm wondering if this reframe then, and again, I'm using this halakha because I know a bunch of sisters have expressed difficulty coping with what's happening all together in our weekly homework chat. So what it appears as though there's these big scary explosions that are killing everybody. And what this first few paragraphs are presenting is that there is some matter that is being moved to deliver the decree of the one who deals death, which is very different than here they go killing everybody. Look at how much I've just ascribed a dominator in that language that and it's a story that I'm repeating in my head every time I see something. They're killing everybody, they're killing everybody, they're hurting everybody, they're hurting everybody. And it's such a burden in my chest. Like it's collapsing chests because it's a burden to the human soul to see it that way. Rather, there's a reframe that seems more refined from the next to last paragraph that's offering to see matter disclosing the dominator, the true dominator, the dominant one who is giving death or dealing decree, which again, it's very different because the power goes back to a safe place. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure. I think maybe before seeing the manifestation of Al-Mumit, the one who gives death, we need to see more of that life and spirit that we don't normally see. We tend to focus on the matter part. So I don't know. I have the same questions, Sarah. So I'm just sharing frankly that something is not fully clicking with me in that approach, but I'm also still in need of solutions. One thing that's coming to me is someone was saying, you know, and this person was also very sad about it, but then would flip over and say, you know, but actually these people are, you know, why do you say they are dying? Why do you say they're being killed? They're moving on to you know, with the angels to a higher realm, and that gives my heart ease to, instead of seeing that these are wasted lives, these are people who had dreams and all of that have been cut off and obliterated, all these kids, all these families, and then to see, you know, something beyond matter, beyond what I, you know, there was, I think here reference earlier in the last week's text, right before this section, that story that Nurbanu summarized, that it said that just because you don't see, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So then that kind of approach can help us, that, you know, even though we don't see these lives, and then, you know, and I don't know how to make it in such a way that it's not just pushing away the sorrow and the sadness, because it is also a messenger and we are to stay with it. It would be terrible if we would just look at these images and not feel anything. any sorrow, any sadness either, because we are being moved by the source of compassion, the source of justice, even despite ourselves, like I'm a good sleeper normally, or I used to be until I get older now. But this issue like sometimes wakes me up at night, and I'm surprised, like, why am I losing my sleep? Why can't I sleep? Because that notion that people are being oppressed somewhere deeply can bother us, and that's not necessarily bad. That's something to also perhaps to see as a manifestation of something more than matter, that there is this truth of compassion and justice. And it isn't just matter, because materially my bed is still soft, my house is still safe, my room is still warm, and yet I can't sleep. So then it shows that we are, matter is not the fundamental, it's serving something.
The fact that Allah is Mumit does not contradict the other realities. It's not like, oh, if I'm used to perceiving the world through the divine names, then, oh, I'm going to become heartless. No, that's because I have not experienced that. I am only intellectually, it's a hypothesis. Therefore, if I see God as Al-Mumit, the one who deals life, then it would be terrible, because then what about the other realities? That's all hypothetical. In reality, if we live from the heart and soul, and we are in touch with Al-Malakut, the angelic part of the creation, and therefore, to some extent, different. It doesn't mean once we start living there, we understand everything. No, to the extent that we are praying and we are connected, we don't get stuck too long into the matter part. So we see oppression. There are oppressors, but the oppressed, we choose to be oppressed or not oppressed. That's our choice. Just because there is an oppressor doesn't make me oppressed. And just because there is a killer doesn't make me, I didn't die by divine decree. And the dreams we talk about, that's part of life, but it's not the true aim of our existence. The true aim, even those dreams, they are there to serve the purpose of our life, which is to know God, to worship Him, to worship at the end of the day, glorifying Him. Those dreams are not the aim, the goal of life. They are only means. And so the more I remind this myself every day, the more, that's why transience, without reminding ourselves of the transience and observing it and remembering it, because usually what we do, we run away from that reality. We don't want to remember it. But the more we are at peace with transience every day, that's the only way we can start. We start experiencing the beautiful names of God and interacting with the creation as they are, as ayat, as messengers from beyond. That's the only way matter is not dominant, will be our reality. Because if this world is flowing, transient, if I bracket out this reality, then when something like this happens, it's a big reminder of the reality. They died. I may die now in an hour. We are all dying, and dying is not the end. Dying is leaving to where we are supposed to go. We are all here to prepare for that world anyway. And another way to look at it is there is definitely an oppressor here. When we are in ghafla, when we are stuck in matter, and matter especially like it looks like power, it looks like adama, as if, then there is a danger that it feels like I also have to be like that in order not to be oppressed, to defend myself. Yeah, but I don't want to be like that. Can you imagine? Would you like to be an oppressor? The best, of course, would be to be neither oppressed nor oppressor. But in case we are in this situation, it is 1,000 times better to be the victim than to be the oppressor who lost their humanity. The other one is this short life got shortened, and inshallah, they have the eternal life. But the other one is losing this life because that person can't be sleeping at peace, doing what they are doing. It's not human. And losing their eternal life. Just from this perspective, everything changes, upside down. It's like when we give charity. If we are in touch with the source of givenness, the source of rizq, when we give, it reminds us how much we are given. But otherwise, it seems like, oh, I had 10 in my pocket, now I give 2, I have 8, because my pocket is the source. Suddenly, it's upside down. One reminds me of the infinite source. One is stuck into my pocket. A limited amount. Here also, it seems like these people are so powerful. There is no powerful except God. And it's happening by divine will. And who said they are in a better position than the other? To me, they are in a thousands of times worse position than the others. If I had the choice, of course, I wouldn't want to be in either. But if I had only 2 choices, you are the oppressor or the victim, because if you are conscious, you don't accept their oppression. You are free abd. I would rather be on that side. Don't want to lose my life and my eternal life, my worldly life and my eternal life. This life is not worth it. It is transient. Transient means, it doesn't mean maybe 60 years, maybe 70 years. No, transient means there is only the now. Yesterday is not here. This morning is not here. Tomorrow is not yet here. We are talking about a fleeting, flowing instant, and we are making all these big things about it. We could do, yes, when we see injustice, we remember how, for instance, there is injustice here and I can't do anything. I remember how much I need God, and alhamdulillah that God exists, and alhamdulillah that He is all powerful and that He's just and all compassionate. Time for istighfar because I forgot. I see something. Of course, if He makes me dislike it, it means to call me back to Him. In everything, I need Him. That's the level of consciousness. All these things, without this thing happening, we wouldn't know that we can grieve and feel sorrow for people we've never seen. Oh, life is so valuable. Subhanallah. And now we remember, sometimes we can break a heart with a word or something. We have to be careful because life is so valuable. Look, we don't know, but we are all coming from one. It reminds us that we are not separate. We are all one. So lots of istighfar for our forgetfulness and for our ignorance, and lots of hamd that Allah is in control. Otherwise, we would be done. There would be chaos in the world, in this transient world. So that's why Iman has two aspects. One looks to shukr, gratitude, and praising God, and the other one looks to sabr, patience. And sabr is not having patience. Like, I hate what's going on, but I can't do anything about it. No, sabr comes with rida, with acceptance. It is difficult, but it is difficult not because it shouldn't be happening. It is difficult because Allah is trying us and educating us with difficult things. Like in Surah Al-Ankabut, says, well, do you think we'll just let you like this without trying you? So not to complain. We are not complaining, and we are grateful that God is there for us, and therefore for everyone else that we cannot reach, that we cannot help. And when we help, we are only helping in His name. But if I think I am the helper, when I can't help, that's it. I fall into helplessness, into despair. But there is no despair if we are always connected with God. We feel sadness, and sadness, again, urges us to pray for ourselves and for others. Whatever we want for ourselves, you need to want it for others. We heard this, we didn't know what it meant. Now we know what it means. It is a reality. It's not just an intellectual, nice word. Wallahu a'lam.
I just want to summarize one point that Dr. Yamina said that is really striking, and then inshallah we can open it up for questions. When we say that the most important thing that the Quran is constantly emphasizing is transience, like Dr. Yamina frequently shares, we have to understand things through its opposites. So right now, it's such a sliver, it's such a decimal, minute moment that we have in this world. And the opposite is infinite, eternal, which makes any amount of time in this world absolutely zero. And I remember so long ago, there was an older woman, this Italian woman. She was elderly and had plenty of health problems. And still, I would see her in the stairwell every day when I would be running to work. And any problem in the world, she would always quote the verse that she knows, this too shall pass, this too shall pass, this too shall pass. Like, this is nothing. You're going to see, Annie, everything is going to pass. It's all passing. And she said it with such a peace, regardless of what the problem was. And when this all is done and over with, it's going to feel like a decimal, an hour, like the Quran says. It'll feel like a day, part of a day, nothing. And so that really puts the perspective of, and I think that's what Nursi was referring to in that first paragraph. The more refined we become distant from our material existence, the closer we draw to the world of the spirit, like living from this place of ruh, this place of timelessness, starts to maybe see through this veil. Like, yes, it looks awful. Yes, it is awful. And it's but a moment in time, soon to be a joke. Like, there's some narration that says the people that die, they wake up laughing at what they thought was pain. Like it was but a second of it, and it's a massa, right? Like massani adur. It's because your ruh is
especially shaheed.
Mm.
They won't even know that they died. They will feel alive on the other side.
Mhm. And perhaps that's this whole distillation thing, which is in the final paragraph. I looked up what is this distillation even referring to, but this purifying process. Distillation is applying heat to purify something that burns to purify or to make that veil maybe more transparent and allow us to discover, like Dr. Yamina said, this rawhani. What was the word that we used? Anyway, the spirit beings. What was the word again? Rawhaniyat.
Ruhaniyat.
So we're discovering this incredible, and truly we're all feeling it. Isra says she's waking up at night from it. This incredible presence that is with me of
Maybe
grief,
it's telling you go and
mourning,
pray. Yeah, right. It's time to pray. That's
deep
all we can do.
connection.
Go and pray.
It's as
And
though the
actually,
whole body
I'm
turns
saying all
numb.
we can do, but sometimes prayer can be very powerful. And maybe when we go there, we will see that, oh, I wish I was there. Like they got better. You see what I mean? If someone dies and gets the station of Shaheed, and this life is so transient, so short, and maybe now it looks like, oh, I am feeling pity for the other one. When I go on the other side, I will be like, oh, I wish I was there. This is a much better deal. It depends on how we are looking at it. Perception makes the whole difference. It
Which
does
means
not
if we're living-
mean that it's okay to let there be oppression, and it doesn't mean that at all.
I think sometimes, or like some of the discussions that we had in the group was also, we have this idea of the shaheed, and we don't, we have, I don't want to say envy, but we kind of are like, oh, I wish we could be in their place, but what really makes us lose sleep or unsettles our hearts are the people who are left behind, right? So even adjusting our perspective on how to look at those people, and maybe we're also part of the who's left behind, is also going to help us kind of like become more at ease with what's going on.
But again, it's perception. There is, it was in Arabic, otherwise I wish it was not subtitled. It was someone who spent 15 or 20 years in Guantanamo and was tortured heavily, and he was never tried. And one day they sent him, like more than 90% of the people there were not tried. They just put them there and were experimenting on them. So there is oppression, there is injustice. These people are monsters who are doing all these things. They lost their humanity. But this person, subhanallah, yubaddilullahu sayyi'atam hasanat, all that he said, when he was speaking, you feel how close, how spiritual he is, how close to God he is. And he was saying how always for him, God was someone very far away. And it is through there that he became very close to God. And he felt that God was with him all the time. And he speaks really from the heart, like half an hour. It's unbelievable. Subhanallah. Some person could be complaining and becoming bitter, and for him it becomes a double curse, the physical curse, and doesn't take the opportunity. But this man took that, and for him it became vehicle, or like Yusuf alayhi salam, it became Madrasa Yusufiya, as he called, Imam Nursi calls that situation, because he was also put in prison in very tough conditions, and he called it Madrasa Yusufiya. It's a school. Allah is teaching you. It's not a school that we want to go. It's like illness or an earthquake or something. We don't choose to go there deliberately. But if we are put there, then if we surrender, we accept the reality, Allah will give the patience to deal with the hardship, and even makes it an opportunity to grow very fast. It's like Yunus alayhi salam in that night in the storm, in the whale's belly, and as Imam Nursi says, it became like a submarine for him, taking him to salvation. So the hardship becomes the means to take you to higher levels of ubudiyya. Subhanallah. Allah qadirun ala kulli shay. So when we are praying, we pray that this physical condition changes, and as long as it is happening, that Allah makes it into khair, as the dua of Imam Nursi, Ya naru kuni bardan wa salama. This is like this fire, the lilladhina amanu, he says. So in the Quran, it's the miracle of Ibrahim alayhi salam. All fire be bardan wa salam, coolness and peace. And he says, be coolness and peace on the believers, on the surrenderers, inshallah. So may Allah make all that fire into coolness and peace for those people.
Ameen.
And of course, for the others, Allahumma shattit shamlahum wa farriq jam'ahum wa mazziqhum kulla mumazzaq. Allahumma ij'al ba'sahum baynahum la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. May Allah stop them by His means.
Ameen. It is 9:10, so I'm gonna ask if anyone has any last comments or questions, and I want to respect people's time, so we can stop at the second fundamental point, or if anyone has closing comments, inshallah.
I just want to thank very much Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Yamina, and Sarah as well. It was helpful.
I just want to make a quick comment. Can you hear me?
The quality isn't that good for me, but I don't know if it's better for other people.
There's something wrong with my phone.
Not very good.
I'll try to shout. I think there's something wrong with my phone.
This is better.
Now.
I was going to say that we sit quite far and we look at the images and what's going on, and sometimes we fall into that trap that this is a test for them. SubhanAllah, it's a test for all of us wherever we're sitting, because the test of gratitude and patience and reflecting on our own lives and doing astaghfar and just realizing how we take things for granted wherever we are. So I do believe this is a test for all Muslims all over the place. And when this war happened in Jenin, I just became very, very I couldn't watch anything, and I was really very weak in dealing with it. But, you know, once we know that the other side is the side that we're all working towards and that they've gone to the other side, it made it easier for me to deal with this in a way. I don't know, I'm not making sense maybe. But just to say that it is a test for all of us watching this, what we do to help ourselves as well. To
Yes, definitely. If
Something-
it's coming to us, it's our test now.
yeah,
Even praying for them and making istighfar for them because they are in hardship now. For them not to complain is their ibadah. For us to pray for them, to make istighfar for them is our part, inshallah.
I found it comforting reading the dua of Imam Nasiri and also the dua of another Imam who's Palestinian. He died in the last century. I can share those with anybody who's interested, or I can put them in the group. But I read those every day and I find them very comforting.
Yeah, dua Nusayri, mashallah. I love it. I grew up with it as a kid.
The dua of the oppressed people.
Yes.
Because we are all oppressed. All of us are. It's not just them. We're all oppressed.
I come from a place that was just like they are now. That's how our parents, my parents and things, and the whole family. I grew up with half of the family dead anyway. All of them died through the colonialists, oppressors. Inshallah, shaheed.
Inshallah, shaheed. Okay, that's all I wanted to share. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Zubaydah. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to share?
Okay. It's 9:15 almost, so Jazakallah. I found this very, very helpful this week. And you know, God made it very relevant to our feelings at the moment too. Again, please share any reflections and contemplations you have throughout the week in the group, so we can all benefit from it. Thank you, Dr. Yamina, for walking us through the text. Next week, we'll start at the second fundamental point, inshallah. And I'll stop us there. So, سبحانك لا علم إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين على رسولنا الصلاة.
Thank you. Fi amanillah. May Allah accept everyone's prayers, inshallah.